Today is Thursday. It is Chavtes Iyar Tavshin Dalet. We are in Teres Menachem, Sefer Mamar Chamisha Kinyanim, in the Mamar Chamisha Kinyanim. The first one, there's two Chamisha Kinyanims. This is the first one from Shabbos Pashas Bamidbar. Mevorchem Achedesh Erev Chedesh Sivan Tavshin Yud Beis. We are on page Reish Peites. We just began the paragraph of Eitzos. We'll start from Eitzos again. The Rebbe is explaining that in order to that there are two aspects to Torah. In the five things that are enumerated in the Mishnah, that Hashem Kadosh Baruch Hu acquires them in His world, Torah is the first. And the Rebbe explained that Torah has two aspects to it. One is that it causes kinyan and all the things that follow. It causes kinyan in Shamayim V'aretz. It's through Torah, because Torah is from the intellectual attributes of Atzilus, whereas the world is from the emotional attributes of Atzilus. And then there's an aspect in Torah which is also within the frame of the emotional attributes, which also needs to be acquired. What is that? The Rebbe explained that Torah lends itself to be used against itself. If you don't learn it in the right way, if you don't have the right preparation or the right frame of mind in learning Torah, one can learn Torah Shalei Lishma, not for the purpose of learning Torah, but rather for ulterior motives. You should be called a Rov, or you receive honor. You can learn Torah Lekanter, which means to antagonize your Chaverim, your friends in learning, to give opposing positions, or even to be Megala Ponim B'Torah Shalei Ka'alacha, to reveal a face in Torah, not according to halacha, meaning to say, to abuse the Torah, literally. So in order to ensure that Torah is not learned and used in that way, you need kinyan. It needs to be drawn in to the Rishus HaYochid, into the domain of the Yochid, the one and only the Eibishter, Hashem. How is that? That's through the preparation of davening. Because davening puts you in the right frame where throughout the davening it's the process of bittul and commitment of the person to Hashem, to the extent that we become one with Hashem, Elech Hashem Nafshi Esa. Now that Rebbe goes on and says that so this is, how do we accomplish this? Here it seems that Rebbe explains you accomplish it through learning, through davening, and that is the correct preparation to learning Torah. Says the Rebbe that in Torah itself you have two aspects. You have the Nigla, the Gali Shabbat, the revealed part of Torah. Then you have Pnimis Torah, the inner dimension of Torah. And the inner dimension of Torah is that part of the Torah which assists the person that his learning of the revealed part of the Torah should be in the appropriate manner. So in a sense, the learning of Pnimis Torah is like davening as well, in that sense, where it puts the person in the right frame. So this is where we're up to page Reish Peites, the paragraph of Eitzos. There is another aspect to the learning of Torah, Gufa itself, in addition to prefacing the learning of Torah with the service of davening. There's another aspect in the learning of Torah itself, that this concept of kinyan, the concept of acquisition, ensuring that Torah is learned in the correct way, that it's within the domain of the Rishus HaYochid, the only one, the domain of Hashem, that comes about, that takes place, that is accomplished through the learning of the inner dimension of Torah. For this descent, why is it that Torah needs to be learned in the right way? That one needs to be in the right frame to learn Torah, because otherwise it could be learned in the wrong way, as I just mentioned. That is because Torah clothes itself in physical matters, and not only does it clothe itself in physical matters, but it even clothes itself in false arguments, right? When one person argues one way, one person argues another way, so the Torah actually descends to dissect false arguments. So in that aspect of Torah, that dimension of Torah that clothes itself in such low phenomena, there could be the possibility for Torah to be learned in the wrong way. It could be, you could take a wrong turn, so to speak. This descent of Torah, to clothe itself in physical matters, and to the extent that it also clothes itself in false arguments, this is only where in the revealed part of Torah, which is referred to in the Zohar as the tree of knowledge, good and bad.
Yeah.
This is from the Zohar, volume 3. It's actually Pashas Nosei, the very famous Zohar, where it says that at the time of Mashiach, that Bahai Sifr and Deloch, Yifkun Yisrael, and Begalus Berachman, that Yidden will the Alter Rebbe actually quotes it extensively in Igeres HaKodesh chapter 26. It's too long to go through it now, but it's very, very advisable to learn this Igeres HaKodesh 26. He brings from Pashas Nosei, with this composition of yours, meaning the Iu Sefer HaZohar, which is the book of the Zohar, Min Zohar de Eme Law, which comes from the level of Eme Law, Bina Datzilis, which is Tshuva. This idea of Tshuva Law is also the idea of Bina Datzilis, as is explained also, I believe, in Geras HaTshuva, I think in chapter 9. Be'ilim L'tzorech Nisoy, and he goes through the whole thing. And he explains how the Sefer HaZohar is so fundamental and important to the redemption, to the future redemption. And he explains, because Pnimiyas HaTorah, that comes from Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life, which is completely Tov. Whereas Torah in general is Eitz HaDas Tevera. And the Alter Rebbe goes into a whole questioning over there. What does it mean that it's, how can you say on Torah that it's Tevera? We know that Torah is Eitz Chaim Hila Machazikim Bo. When you say Torah is...
Over here, this time,
yeah, chapter 26. It's a beautiful, beautiful chapter. And he explains this Zohar in the most fascinating way. But one of the Nekudas, which is related to us over here, he says, it's not, God forbid, that Torah is Torah. Torah is all good. You can't say Ra on Torah. It's just that there's a part of Torah that clothes itself, lends itself to be clothed in lower things. So it clothes itself in Torah. But the Torah itself is Torah.
It clothes itself or it's able to be enclosed?
It clothes itself. When Torah...
because of the arguments that...
Correct.
In
exactly.
Gemara,
that's the idea of contention.
And then ultimately one opinion emerges as the correct opinion.
Correct one. And not
so
only
the
that...
ones that aren't...
Not even more so. There are arguments which are sheker. Yeah. Or it clothes itself in Isur V'Heter. It talks about things that are impure. So it's not God forbid that the Torah is impure or the Torah is bad, so to speak. The Torah clothes itself in such phenomena for the purpose of birur.
Yeah.
In Sfiris, the Alter Rebbe says this is Malchus Datzilus. Malchus Datzilus descends, whereas Pnimius Torah is from Zod Datzilus or even higher. He goes into the whole, he dissects it in the most fascinating way. But the bottom line is, Gal Yeshet Torah could be referred to as Eitz Hadas Tovera, good and bad, the tree of knowledge, good and bad. Why? Not Chas Chalil because Torah is that, because Torah, as I just mentioned, is Eitz HaChaim. When we say Eitz Chaim Hila Machazikim Ba, it's a tree of life for all those that hold on to it. It's talking about the entire Torah. Right? But there's a part of the Torah that in the revealed sense clothes itself in such phenomena, which would be what? The revealed part of the Torah. Mashenkim Pnimius HaTorah, this is not the case when we talk about the inner dimension of Torah. Roz in Deiraisa, the secrets of the Torah, Shei B'chinas Eitz HaChaim. That is the tree of life, meaning to say that it, to begin with, in its totality, it focuses on what? On godly phenomena. So therefore, V'lachein, Al Yidei Limud Pnimius HaTorah, through the learning of the inner dimension of Torah, the study of the inner dimension of Torah, Na'aseh Gam Limud Gali the Torah Kedeboy. That causes also that the learning of the revealed part of the Torah should be in the appropriate manner. Shegam Kasher Lemed Yidnyan HaTorah She'yardu V'nislapshu B'dvarim Gashmim. That also when he learns matters of Torah, subjects of the Torah, that descended and clothed themselves in physical phenomena. V'ad l'tayin sh'sheker, to the extent that it even clothes itself in false arguments. Not only do the matters, the worldly matters in which Torah has descended and clothed itself. Not only does it not disturb him, does it not confuse him, from feeling he doesn't lose the feeling that Torah is the knowledge and the will of Hashem. So in addition to that, through his learning of the Torah, which part of the Torah? The revealed part of the Torah, he affects that the world itself, Yisbarah, should be refined, Yis'alin should be elevated to the Rishus HaYochid, right? To the singular domain, the private domain, the singular domain of Hashem. Meaning to say, that Torah, why does Torah indeed lend itself to clothe itself in such low phenomena? It's not just for the sake of clothing itself, it's for the sake of clothing itself and lifting. In other words, when one studies Torah, which discusses something which on the surface seems to be such a lowly concept, or even a false concept, and through the learning of the Torah and dissecting what the situation is and finding the Torah view on that particular issue, you're actually lifting that. That's the purpose of the Torah clothing itself in such low things. But in order for that to happen, we need to have the right mindset, and the right mindset and the right attitude is obtained and maintained through the learning of Pnimis, the inner dimension of Torah, which is completely spiritual and godly. This is the idea of the heavens and the earth being one of the acquisitions, which comes about how through the Torah Kinyan Echad, this is the aspect in Torah which causes Kinyan in the heavens and the earth, the acquisition of the heavens and the earth, in this way, by learning Pnimis Torah, so then it allows for the Nigla of the Torah, the revealed part of the Torah, to be studied and to accomplish its objective in the proper manner. Another couple of lines, V'yesh L'Hosef, chapter 6, we can add, V'negei L'Klos in Kinyan, generally concerning the idea of Kinyan, of acquisition. What did we explain until now? The idea of acquisition is to bring things into, Kinyan is which world? Which world is, and when we say in Kiddush Levana, Baruch Eisech, Baruch Beirech, Baruch Eisech, Baruch Yetzrich, Baruch Beirech, and Baruch Koinech, right? Eisech is Asiyah, Yetzrich is Yetzirah, Beirech is B'riyah, so what's Koinech? Koinech is Atzilus. So, generally speaking, what do we say? We're talking about taking things from lower than Atzilus and causing them to be in a state of Kinyan, meaning to say lifting them up to Atzilus. The Rebbe here is going to explain that we're actually even talking about what? Lifting them beyond Atzilus, uniting them, fusing them, actually with Hashem himself. But the mitzvah of that will continue tomorrow.